You know that feeling when you've closed a big candidate, when you've closed that requisition, it was a tough fight, and you have that, finally it's done. And you feel like it's time to celebrate. Hold that thought because candidates don't get lost before they sign. They get lost in that gap between when they do sign and when they show up for work. Because that is when regret shows up. And it shows up in the form of a clipboard with a bad attitude. Here's what's happening. You are closing those offers. Good on you. That is a great job. And then the candidates, they just keep interviewing anyway. Hold on. What happened here? I thought we were closing this deal. But that is not a candidate problem. That is a regret problem. And regret is the growth tax that you are paying in rehires, backfills, delays, and missed revenue. If you're sick of being treated like a cost center, if you're tired of hearing your CEO say, just hire faster, giving you zero leverage and no extra budget, if you've been trying to explain that employer brand is so much more strategic than just a pretty website, well, you're ready for the next revolution in talent and people. Welcome. I'm James Ellis, and this is Becoming Choosable. And together, we can grow your company from the hire up. Let's show leadership that recruiting, HR, employer brand driving businesses forward by turning people work into growth work. You ready? Well, let's see what the claw machine of destiny has for us today. Hello and welcome, my people side rebels. Welcome to another edition of Becoming Choosable. According to the Claw of Destiny, well, we're going to talk about influence, which is a really useful and powerful subject, one that I don't think we talk nearly enough about. Because the thing you're fighting is not talent, it's uncertainty and the emotional hangover that comes right after a decision. This is a very human thing. This isn't just, from jobs or just you or your company. This is a very deeply human thing. You see, everybody thinks the hardest part of recruiting and selling, and for this conversation, I'm merging the two for a metaphor, right? You'll see how this works. They think that the hardest part is getting somebody to sign, right? They push them towards the line that is dotted, and you can go ahead and cue all the Glengarry Glen Ross jokes you want. Feel free to always say ABC, always be closing. Coffee is for closers. Second place is a set of steak knives. Wonderful, great. I'm glad we're all on the same page. But if you've actually seen the movie Glengarry Glen Ross or the stage play, right? You know that the real monster is not the moment before the signature. It's the next day. Why? Regret. Regret is the quiet assassin of deals, whether it's sales deals for property and God only knows where, or having someone hire on to be your next senior vice president of whatever the heck. Regret is what keeps your candidates from doing just one more call with your competitor, even after they said you're super excited to join you, even after they verbally committed, even after they started to sign the paperwork. Regret is what turns a yes into a no before day one. Regret is what makes someone ghost you while you're celebrating your filled requisition. Now, here's the thing that I don't think we either know or want to admit, and that is recruiting closing, that process where you're going through the offer and you're going back and forth and you're figuring out what it's going to take to get them to sign that piece of paper. It's designed to win the yes, obviously, but it's not designed to prevent regret. And regret is the monster that kills deals. So today's thesis is your job is not to win the yes. Your job is to make the yes feel smart. Because candidates aren't just choosing a job. Of course not. They're choosing a story about themselves. So here's the deal. Candidates are choosing an identity signal. If you peel the onion way back, you're going to find the real question. Who am I because I chose to work at this company? That's what they're thinking in the interview process, especially close to the finish line, because that's when the rubber meets the road and they have to really say, who am I because I chose this company and not that company? What does it say about me that I chose this company, not that company? See, people want it to signal something. They want their choice of employer to say something about them, whether it's that they're a builder or a craftsperson or a grown-up or a mission-driven or a protector or a problem solver or the adult in the room. It doesn't matter. Sometimes it's simpler than we want to admit. They want to feel smart. They want to feel like they made the really wise call. And here's the twist. Your employer brand is not just what we say we are. It's the signal your company sends and the best talent is scanning for to match the signals that they want to send about themselves. This is a game in which the signals are not crossing, they're augmenting one another. So if your message only says, we're innovative and collaborative, great, congratulations, hat tip. You told them exactly nothing about who they're going to become by choosing you. and you gave regret an opening. Okay? So, next section, stop selling features, sell before and after. See, most companies sell features. We offer great benefits, we offer flexibility, we offer a mission, we offer autonomy, we offer puppy dogs and daisies and back rubs and whatever the heck it is you want. Cool. So does everybody else. Let's just assume most companies say stuff like that. If you are, chances are everybody else is too, including the companies people regret joining. Features do not reduce uncertainty. Contrast does. The simplest move is to show a very clear before and after. Before, this is what your life is like now. This is how your world is. This is how you feel about yourself. This is the story you tell yourself. And after, well, who did you become because you chose this company? Right? This isn't storytelling in the Pixar 12-minute origin story thing. This is just a simply clear contrast that makes them go, oh, yeah, that's me. That's the piece of me I've wanted to talk about. That's the thing I've been missing. So for example, let's say you offer an inspiring mission. Great. Don't say that. That's not going to get you anywhere. Instead, you really want to say, hey, you're probably exhausted working for a mission that you don't actually give a damn about, right? You're building someone else's yacht. You're putting your life's work, your heart, your spirit, your passion into somebody else's world. Here, you ship work that you can tell your kid about without feeling weird. Clarity, contrast. They understand what they're getting. What if you offer autonomy? Instead of saying we offer autonomy, which is really nice to say and means absolutely nothing, say, hey, you're being micromanaged in a box that doesn't really fit you anymore. But here, if you own the outcome, you own the process. We hire adults and then we let them act like adults. Clear, contrast, obvious. They understand, if that's what I'm joining, I see what I'm getting. I'm seeing who I become. That same offer is completely different in its effect on someone. One is a brochure. The other is a mirror. Mirrors reduce regret. So there's this concept called future pacing. Future pacing. Yeah, if you've read in the half of the weird books that I've read, Bandler and Grinder know what I'm talking about. You understand that future pacing is one of those things that can be incredibly manipulative. And I do not want you to do it in a manipulative fashion. I simply want you to understand this concept so that you can kind of see how it helps put someone mentally into the future after they've chosen. So they really can see that contrast. You want them, because they have these questions in their head, to ask those questions and to say, what does this future look like having made this choice? You want them to say, I wonder what an average Tuesday is going to look like now that I've picked this company. Well, if you don't give them that information, they're going to make it up, and chances are it's not going to serve you. You want to help them paint that picture of what that average Tuesday looks like. You want them to paint the picture of who they're dealing with. What do they get to stop dealing with? What do you finally get to do that you've always wanted to do in this future? This isn't therapy. You're not rewiring their brain. You're simply changing the story that they're stuck in. You see, regret thrives in vague futures. You ever have those middle of the night dreams? You're like, I have to go to the class and I forgot that I have a final and I'm wearing underwear. That's the vague future your brain kind of spins up crazy stories around, and they're almost never positive. Proof, why are your dreams always a little stressful? Why are they never just you sitting on a beach for 4 hours? Why don't we ever have those dreams? And if maybe I'm the only one, no, I don't think so. That's the thing. You give people a vague future, regret that thinks of that as soil. It can dig its roots in and sprout. But if you give it a very specific future, regret dies. So give them specifics, not aspirational smoke, reality. Which brings us to a hard truth. If you paint a rosy future without any credibility, candidates can smell it, and uncertainty spikes. Regret shows up way early, and suddenly you got to work 3 and 10 times as hard to kind of reel them back in. That's because you didn't set them up properly at the beginning. So what you need to do with these 2 simple things. First, understand that trade-offs are a trust signal. You want to say things like, this company or this job is great for X, not so great for Y. That's not being negative. That's not showing your dirty laundry. It's building credibility. We've talked about this idea that for every strength, there is an inherent weakness. If you are going north, you are no longer going south. These things, there are plenty of things where you say, because we're working together and collaborating, well, we're not moving as fast. These are inherent trade-offs. And if you can show the trade offs and embrace the trade offs and admit the trade offs and highlight the trade offs, people go, oh, it's not that I hate the negative, it's that I understand that the negative proves the positive. You are creating credibility, you are creating certainty, you're creating specifics. And then, of course, point number 2, proof. Not claims, you want evidence. You want to say things like, people who join here tend to stay longer because da 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 da. People who join here tend to get promoted faster because da 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 da. Fill in the blank. People who join here tend to land better next jobs because da 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 da. People who join here tend to finally stop working nights because sing the song. Now, if you don't know the proof yet, that's fine. Present it as a hypothesis, but do not fake it. Do not manufacture it. Simply use it as a frame around the reality. Now, let's talk about the language problem that makes all of this way, way harder. I look at career sites and job posts like too much. And like 97, 98% of the time, they're written as if they're love letters to the company. We do this. We believe this. We hold these values. We offer this. We ship this. We demand this. We expect this. We, all the way home. And it's like a date where the other person's on the other side of the table and they talk about themselves for like 45 minutes and they say, so, you in? Yeah, no, hard pass. You want the candidate to be the hero here, not because it's cute marketing frameworks. And, I have a great deal of respect for the story brand framework and some quibbles, but because the hero language is regret insurance. Instead of saying, we offer autonomy, say, hey, what you're going to get here is trust, space, and a say. And if you've earned it, you'll use it. That's compelling. That is credible. That's creating contrast. That is going to destroy regret before it even starts. Instead of saying, we value growth, which, okay, good for you, who doesn't? Say things like, what you'll become here is sharper, faster, more confident, because you'll ship work that matters. Same idea, very different center of gravity. So let's talk about metrics. See, the thing is that regret, the way we do things, it's because it's all rooted in the measuring success at offer accepted. Now, by the way, I'm a big fan of measuring offer acceptance rates. I think it's a fine measure of a lot of things, but there's a lot of stuff that happens after the offer is accepted. The real metric is yes to day one conversion. But that's a little harder, and I get that. But that's where you need to focus, because that's where you know that you have done the great job of killing regret after the yes. Because the truth is, you're probably already doing lots and lots and lots and lots of work getting them to yes. You're just not focusing on what happens after that yes. You're not tracking how many accepted offers actually show up. You're celebrating a lead, not a sale. Regret lives in that gap. It puts a home there. It makes a little garden in that gap. And the gap is costing you money right now. This isn't employer brand fluff. This is renege prevention. Every late stage dropout is a cost of delay, a backfill tax, a credibility hit with the hiring managers. So you're not selling candidates, you're reducing uncertainty. So accepted offers actually show up. They actually start. They actually drive value. That's how growth works. Okay, obviously, we have to accept and adopt the idea that in our world, any change is a target for pushback from lots of people. Maybe it's executives, maybe it's HR, maybe it's comms, maybe it's legal, maybe it's marketing, it doesn't matter. There's all sorts of objections. Every time we come up with a change, a way we want to do things, the world seems to say, no, do it the usual way. So you need to get backstopped with good answers for when they push back. So for example, if somebody says, hey, we can't promise outcomes, legal will kill us. You got to say, we're not promising, we're proving. Trade-offs plus evidence. And we'll sanity check all the language with legal all day long before it ever ships. We're not making guarantees. We're simply talking about what has happened. If they push back and say, we don't have time for a big project like this, you say, good, this isn't a big project. This is like a 48-hour regret killer pack that we can ship for our priority roles. One page, one email, one manager script. And when it starts to work, when we start to see the reneges go down, we start to propagate it out to more and more roles. If the pushback is candidates should be adults, if they flake, that's on them. Oh my goodness. I mean, obviously this is not a recruiter thinking, not a recruiter talking. You know what I mean? The answer to that is, okay, yes. And if our best candidates flake more often than we like, that's a systemic problem. And systems are what we fix. I love that line. Systems are what we fix. If that doesn't make you sound smarter and more expensive, I don't know what does. So let's make it happen. What's something you can do this week to make this happen? Build a smart choice kit for your top 3 roles. Use it the moment they say yes. And it has 3 simple parts. 1, the hero line. This signals the identity. It might say something like, hey, one reason people thrive here is because they hate wasted motion. If that's you, you're going to feel really at home here real fast. You're just reinforcing the positive feelings. You're stamping on regret before it can have a chance to kind of put its little claws in people's brains. 2, the proof bite, that concrete receipt that proves that you're not just full of crap. You say things like, here's what 3 people in this role shipped in their first 60 days and what changed because of it. We don't know what you're going to do, but we want you to see what life is going to be like. Clear future pacing, clearly making obvious what they should expect, what they should look forward to. And if that's what they want, they're going to salivate. Get out of my way. I want to get to that. That's going to excite them. That's going to get that regret out of the way. And step 3, the future Tuesday. It's more future pacing, but this time with a little bit of trade-off. You want to show what your Tuesdays are going to look like, or just any random Tuesday. Here's what it will be. Here's what it won't be. It won't be perfect, but here's what we're going to do about it, and here's how we're going to work together on it. This is crystal clear stuff. And given that nobody does this sort of thing, you're going to really close candidates. You're making those candidates feel incredibly welcomed, engaged with, and regret is never going to have a chance. Send that within 24 hours of offer acceptance. Not in the onboarding, not on day 1. That's way too late. And especially not when we get around to it. Build a system, automate it in your ATS or in your HR ops system and say, okay, the second they say yes and you see something that indicates that they signed something, bam, zoom, there's the message, there's the email. Because that is how you're going to grow your company from the higher up. So that's regret. Regret is killing your company growth, and that's how you're going to fix it. Aren't you a hero? Aren't you wonderful? Aren't you fantastic? You know what? You're going to need some help with this. So you know what you should do? You should forward this video to one person who still thinks that closing is the end of recruiting and ask them, what are we doing after the yes to prevent regret? All right. Normally at this stage, we play the Canvas game. It hasn't been, a positive feature. So I'm going to rethink it. So for right now, that's the end of our shows. This is Becoming Choosable. I hope you enjoyed it. We're trying to grow your company from the higher up. And if that gave you some sort of lever, some sort of tool set, some sort of inspiration, send this to a talent leader who needs more leverage this week, because if they can't choose, you will lose. Thanks so much for being here. I'm James Ellis, and I'll see you next week. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss an episode. This podcast is brought to you by Becoming Choosable, available at Amazon as a paperback or ebook. And by Employer Brand Labs. Make your priority roles choosable in 30 days, because you can't outspend them, but you can out-clarify them.